Sorry to Bother You is the new comedy written and directed by Boots Riley, and it stars Lakeith Stanfield as a black telemarketer in an alternate version of modern-day Oakland who uses his white voice and finds success and is open to this whole new world of, just this macabre, insane world.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the first thing I want to touch on with this movie. Nate, this movie is kind of like off the wall nuts.
This is a bonkers movie. This is one of the weirdest movies I've seen in years. Easily.
Yes.
This is very, very weird stuff.
But that's not a complaint or an insult at all,
No.
or detriment to the movie at all. I think that this movie has its own... It is crazy. It's off the wall, but I think a unique style is a little bit more fitting description for it.
Yeah, I think so. Like you said, it's an alternate world. This is a different world than we live in right now, and it does try to build this world up as being something that's almost like a farce or an exaggeration of the world we live in now.
Yeah. I mean, they take some real things in our society today. They just kind of like exaggerate them, just go to the most extreme with them. But I think that it's just like obscure and, such an alternate reality, just different enough to where it can still touch on these themes that, are very real in our society today, but we can still laugh about them.
It has so many ideas, and I'm wondering if there's just too many crammed in here. I sometimes think that the filmmakers, even like smaller little mini scenes or mini ideas, they're just like, toss it in, and some stick, and for me, some didn't, but a lot of them did. This movie has a lot to say.
Yeah, this movie definitely has a message, and I found this movie to be pretty funny, too. I think the comedy works more often than it doesn't. It doesn't work all the time, but I think there are some really funny moments, and I think that he's my favorite part of Atlanta, so it's not a surprise that Lakeith Stanfield is my favorite part of this movie. I think he really carries the movie on his shoulders.
Yeah, he is a standout for sure. He is. I heard Donald Glover actually was supposed to be the one to lead this movie,
right.
And because of his conflicts with Solo, he suggested that he did this movie, and he did. He held this movie, and this is easily his best performance I've seen from him. To be honest with you, in some of his previous movies, he hasn't really rubbed me the right way. I haven't really liked him all that much, especially in Death Note. I really didn't like him.
I would say
in that
that's
movie.
one of his that I don't like. Other than that, I've liked
But this one, I've turned over a new leaf on my opinion of him. I think he really can hold this movie really well, and he does it because he invests himself in this world. You believe that he exists in this world, and his character arc goes through a lot of different changes in this, and I think that his acting dealt with it very, very well.
Yeah, and he's also got a great supporting cast.
Yeah.
Jermaine Fowler, Tessa Thompson, and Armie Hammer. He
is my favorite part of this movie.
He doesn't pop up to the third act, but every scene that he's in, he steals it.
He's so good.
Yeah, he plays, this like CEO of like the world's richest company, and I think that just by the way he looks, the sound of his voice, and how he acts, I think that Armie Hammer is just himself, like the epitome of like wealthy white privilege.
Right.
And so for him to like go that extreme with it with this character, like even though, and like you said, if this movie was serious, his character would be like a psychopath.
Right.
He spins it where he's like, no, I'm an innovative genius. I'm doing all these new things, and people buy into it.
That's what's so cool about this movie is that people in this world buy into it. Not only is he getting away with these horrible, horrible things, like he's being supported for it.
He's being applauded for it.
He's being applauded and like held up as a Jesus figure because of it. And that's something where some people might think that this is pushing too much commentary in their face. But for me, it does. It does have a lot to say, and it is pushing it on you. But like, I also think that it leaves it to the audience to interpret exactly what they're trying to say here. I think it does warrant other, multiple watches to see exactly like, what are they getting across here? I mean, it's pretty clear in certain instances, but others I'm like, man, they're really flying off the rails to get their point across this time around,
Yeah, I mean, this movie has like I said earlier, like a quirky kind of French director style. Like I got like a lot of Michel Gondry and kind of like Jean-Pierre Jeunet from this movie, just like with the style of it all. And so there is some, like in that part, it's weird.
It's awkward. There's points where this isn't filmmaking that you see very often, so I feel like audiences might be turned off because it's not very conventional.
Yeah. So it might turn off some audiences, but if you think like the first 2/3 of this movie is weird, like the plot takes this really sharp turn. We won't go into any spoilers.
No.
But this plot takes this really sharp turn, and I think in the end they did pull it off. But it was kind of a grind to get there. Just like, where are they going to go with this? Are they going to be able to pull it all off and tie it together at the end? And I think they did. But like the journey to get to that point, you're just sitting there wondering like, is this gonna
Yeah,
work?
yeah. And I think, is it going to work? I'm glad that they went that far with it because they go very, very far with how weird this movie can go. And that's good because they need to punctuate the end with the ultimate weirdness because it's just so weird and it's riding the edge of it, you know, like that. You always see a TV screen with either a newscasting on it, a game show on it, or a commercial on it. You know, so like those are like the only 3 channels this world has. Is like you have to flip through those 3, and that adds this like element of being like, okay, people can get away with things in this world that don't normally. One of the faults for me that was pretty distracting was the white voice because I felt like some actors did a really good job with it, and the lead, unfortunately for me, a lot of times it took me out of it that I just didn't feel like his mouth matched up to the white voice enough.
I wasn't really paying attention to it.
No, it was distracting for me.
I tried not to pay attention to it because, and they kind of say within the movie when he first does it, they say, "Man, you sound like you're dubbed."
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, cool then. You know,
Right.
I'm fine with that.
And
To be honest with you, I think that the white voice on Omari Hardwick's character, who you don't know his name, who has Patton Oswalt's voice,
yeah.
as opposed to David Cross or Lakeith Stanfield, I think that one was just a little bit more distracting.
Really?
Maybe because you only hear Omari Hardwick's real voice for like one line.
Right. And
Whereas like it might come off as, I understand, you know, how you found it weird because you had that basis of comparison where he's kind of going back and forth.
Yeah, it just
to
wasn't
me,
natural
you know, that character, it was just a little bit more jarring because that's pretty much all you got.
Yeah, and the only reason I forgave it, and I really, you know, it's a small grade for me, is because of the world building, where I'm just like, you know what, in this world, people can do this.
Right.
This exists, whatever.
Yeah,
maybe not
if
in our
there's-
world, but in this world, it does.
If there's a game show called "I Got the Shit Kicked Out of Me," like I can forgive a little dubbing. You know, it's just if they're gonna go that far with it, like I get it. It can be distracting at times, but you know, not a big complaint.
No, not a big complaint.
Buffs. All right, Nate. So sorry to bother you. Arrived. We went and saw it. Very weird movie, but you know, more success than a fail. But go ahead. What's your recommendation? See it or skip it?
Yeah, this movie is very, very different, and I respect it for that. You know, this is a movie that is probably going to be talked about quite a bit of just how weird this filmmaking is, and I like that movies still can be made like this, and I like that they can be released, you know, a full release in all the theaters. I enjoyed myself. I don't think it's a perfect movie. I think it's going to turn a lot of people off, but personally, just so you can talk about it with your friends, see it.
Yes, definitely a movie that will be talked about. More people see it, and also I think it's just good counter programming because the reason why we chose to do that, don't do this movie this week instead of The Equalizer 2 is because we've just been doing so many action movies. I get it, it's summer, it's blockbuster season, but just for some alternative programming, a break from the action, there are some good movies out there. Sorry to Bother You is one of them, so I'm also going to give it a see it. Buffs. All right, so that's it for our review of Sorry to Bother You. Have you guys seen the movie? If you have, please get the conversation going and let us know what you think and leave a comment below.
Yeah, and next week we're going to be bringing you our review of Mission Impossible Fallout. We're excited about this one. I know.
Even though we
Action
just said
movies.
we're kind of griping about action movies, I'm really pumped for this.
I am as well. So we'll bring you that review next week. But wherever you are, whoever you're with,
Watch more movies.